Hi, everybody. Welcome to the DJ John's Record Roundup. We are here to talk about some artists, some music, and some things you might find interesting. So thank you for tuning in. We want to say quickly a big thank you to our sponsor, DJ Event Planner. You'll find their information down in the chat, just down below. I'd like to say hello to our panel this evening on the very late taping. So I'd like to say hello to BSR. You're my first top left.
Hi.
Matt, thank you for being here as well, sir. DJ Brandon. Damon is here with us tonight. How you doing, sir? Alex, all the way from Cyprus and Greece. And we've got Tom and Brian K hanging out in the wings. So every week we like to bring you something interesting. Normally we bring you artists that were forgotten about or maybe less talked about than they should be and try to bring something to the forefront. So I was looking through my records today and I came across this one and it hit me in a certain way. And back in the day, when we started doing weddings as wedding DJs, we just had to have that right kind of song, that right kind of material. So I'd like to share with you Rockin' Mania Records, traditional. I'm going to take it out of the Epic sleeve because it's not on Epic. It's a different label. So I have Here Comes the Bride, Here Comes the Bride. And I also have the Wedding March following it. And on the flip side, I have The Bride Cuts the Cake on the other side of that. Let's see if we can bring that in. Just like
Was this from the 40s?
Does it sound the same?
Stop it.
Do they both sound the same? Bride cuts
Here,
the
Jake.
cake.
The bride cuts the cake. So these were the traditional things. And like, if you wanted to be a successful DJ, and I have another wedding survival record, and it's got things like the bunny hop, and it's got things like the chicken dance, and maybe we've modernized a little bit since the day of this was the wedding 40 years ago, 30 years ago. And I'd like to just open the floor to let you guys talk about what you do for pro-sessionals, re-sessionals, how you let the clients choose the music that you play, and maybe what you play for the cake cutting song. And we'll save that for like the last go round. So let's start with BSR since you're right here on the top of my screen, sir.
All right.
We're going to talk about weddings and traditional versus contemporary.
Yeah. I got some traditional-ish here to show you.
Okay.
I want to, stay on topic here and go with the theme we have for this evening. Got to get the peepers on for this.
Excellent.
Back in the early 90s, and we didn't know all of this until years later, years and years and years later. These CDs came out called DJ Tools. And you could buy them at some of the equipment supply stores, like where you got lighting and sound equipment, you could get these too. And they were usually priced at about $200 a piece or more. And when I got into them, there were 10 of them. So it was like a $2,000 investment or something like that if you paid full retail for them. If you
all wedding and it was a set, you had to buy it as such.
You did not have to buy it as set. You bought the volumes you wanted to buy, but I bought 2 copies of 1 through 10 because at the time I had my mobile, but then I also had an additional one that I would have DJs go out with, and I had a record library for them as well. Mm-hmm. And you could do an entire wedding off of volumes 1 through 10. Some discs you focus more on others, but there were a couple of years where I was playing primarily off of my DJ Tools CDs, and I have volume 1 right here, which came out first, and you can't see it here, but at the bottom there you got the Star Trek emblem right there.
There you go, just like the way you have it. We can kind of read it. So
and it says something about Geneva, Switzerland is supposed to be where this was from. It was a very illegal bootleg. A cat named Bernie Howard in Chicago made these things. Later got busted for it. I've met Bernie. He's a real guy. But
anyway, Bernie, that's love to you and your family.
And I'm going to give you the track
listing. Are those different from the Planet DJ series?
No, I think they're the same. It just depended on what kind of mood Bernie was in that day. But the Planet DJ. In fact, I think my volume 3 said Planet DJ on them, but everything else said DJ Tools or Digital DJ Tools or something like that. So
Okay.
the
So
Tasmanian
these are specifically marketed towards wedding
two
clientele
DJs.
that they
two
would
DJs
expect to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was a time where not everything was available on disc. I mean, CDs for us wedding guys were amazing because you could get a lot of tracks on a disc. You didn't have skipping. The sound was pretty good compared to some of the crap record players we were carrying around. Skipping was minimal. I mean, you still had CD skipping, but most of the time it was pretty smooth. Queuing was amazing. You just go to the track and hit the play button. There was no backspin. There was no skate. There was none of that crap. So they were really cool. But the problem with CDs was not everything was available on CDs, so it wasn't practical. So when these suckers came around, it's like, wait a minute. Now I can go all CD. I can get rid of these records, and I can find stuff on these 10 CDs that I can play. And it was stuff like Moni Moni and Tequila and Shout and, that kind of stuff turned up on these. This is the first one that came out, and the first one that came out was pretty comprehensive.
You want to take us through the track list?
I will, but I'll just explain that this came out in probably 90 or 91. And then the volumes would come out once in a while after that. Bernie would add to it. And like I said, when I got to it, it was 10. I think it went up to 15 eventually, but I never bothered with the rest of them.
Okay.
So let's have a look at the track listing. This was like the weapon. Every DJ had to have at least one for a long time. Organ, processional. That's your Here Comes the Bride, but it's the organ version, no lyrics or anything like that.
Okay.
Organ, recessional, which is that was a cool thing to have. Not that I did a lot of ceremonies, but I had it in case I needed it. And speaking of, I was talking earlier on a different show how it's weird that I don't have tattoos when most people have tattoos. So most people are picking really different songs to come up and down the aisle to. I personally think it would be wackadoodle to use these organ processionals and recessionals in 2024. It would be cool and unique. A long time ago, it was corny. Today, I think it might be cool if somebody actually did this. Anyway, I regress.
No, I'm with you. No, like every now, it's like we need to hear Vanessa Carlton 1,000 miles.
Let's be weird and play the traditional organ processional and recessional.
Right, let's play the real one. No one's doing that.
That's actually different now. In 2024, that'd be very different.
Exactly.
But what's on here? The Axel F theme, Harold Flattmeyer.
Okay, that's gonna time.
How you use these songs, I don't know, but we had them and we found uses for them. Theme from Rocky.
Yep.
Flying high now.
Sure. See, that's
Tonight Show theme. Doc Severson doing the Tonight Show theme. David Letterman theme.
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I can't sing Paul Schaefer. I'm sorry, but
it was the original. Kind of bluesy kind of thing. Okay, here's one I still use on occasion. That's on this disc.
Yes,
that is the Peter Gunn theme. Dun, 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 dun. Use that a lot for if they're doing a garter toss or something. It's kind of a cool one to play.
Yes, it's a house that's very safe.
Here Comes the Bride, the disco version, which I've never played.
I've got all these.
Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which I still play occasionally. People ask for it.
It's never lost its steam after all these years.
Fanfare. Mother, Sister, Father, Brother. The Stripper, David Rose Orchestra.
Oh,
which is so corny, but
I have that
used to be a thing for a garter removal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you'd never do it today. It just
Herb Albert has entered the chat suddenly.
Yeah, there was a time when that was a cool thing to do.
Whipped cream and other delights.
Here's one I still play occasionally.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Yellow. Yep. Someone's following along.
Yellow?
Okay, Eddie Howard, Happy Birthday.
You have to have that, but not necessarily for a wedding, but...
Eddie Howard, The Anniversary Waltz. Let Me Call You Sweetheart, Lawrence Welk. Daddy's Little Girl, Al Martino. I Knew the Bride, Nick Lowe. I Knew the Bride when she used to rock and roll. I've never played that song, by the way.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay. Once in a while, depending on the party, I still play this song and I still play this version because I think it's good. And that is the Chicken Dance by the Emeralds. Pokey Pokey Ray Anthony, Limbo Rock Chubby Checker, the Horror Medley. That's the Jewish thing, you know.
That is,
yeah,
that
for
is.
a bar mitzvah, it's nice to have that. I never knew how to say this. Tarantella, it's another Jewish thing. I don't know.
Tarantella's Italian. Dun, 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 dun,
That's the, okay. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
That's the cake cutting song.
You've heard it.
Okay, Last Dance, Donna Summer. The Party's Over, Nat King Cole.
You gonna read every album?
Good Night, Sweetheart. And
Shana.
the Spandels or whatever. I can't read this. And As Time Goes By, Johnny Mathis. That's disc one. So those were kind of the utilities.
That's what we used
for weddings.
To do. So
yeah, some of these I still do.
Are you still? Yeah,
some I still do.
Some
under certain circumstances. Don't do many of them anymore. But there was a time, literally 35 years ago, where this stuff was like gold.
I agree 1,000%. I don't know if you want to go through the entire catalog.
I think we could probably skip that.
Oh, no. I was just showing you disc one. And I'm trying to fill time because just so you guys know, it's like 3:00 in the morning Boston time, and John's decided to do this.
Yeah.
I tried to hustle and get something.
This is great. I can't wait to hear the other 25 discs, but not at the moment.
I don't have them here, and I wasn't going to share. I just wanted to show you disc one, which
thank you for sharing. So, all right. So some of
John, I pulled them up in my virtual DJ. I can list them off if you want.
Did you? No, it's
I'll just rattle them off.
It was a case of like you thought you might have just been done with these songs, but guess what? Some of these still work, and
they do.
It's funny that they do, and you don't know until you're in front of your clients and say like, "Well, I can do this, and start showing them songs like this. And it's more than just processional, recessional, because now you do the ceremony, now you get it till cocktail time, and try to read the vibe of the room, because that's what weddings are all about. Because the black people are gone. Like, let me figure out your guests. This is why I always prefer to play live to cocktail, because they'll come up and give me these little nuggets that's going to help me later in the night.
Oh, sure.
And if that's just, getting phoned in on my standard Spotify playlist, you're missing out on the interaction and the information the guests can give you that could make it a better night than you think you're lined up for. That rather than just saying that whole section doesn't matter, it does, because that's your connection. The bride and groom are gone, and now you get to meet the people you have never heard about in all the meetings and all the plannings, and now you get a little bit into their head. And, oh, we like this, we like that, we like this, we like that. So when the bride and groom come back, and you get through dinner, and then you start to get into the actual, party of the night, you have an understanding of the guests that doesn't show up on any form or any. Who's giggling? Who's laughing? Is that you?
I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Just keep going. You're doing great. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Then suddenly you have an understanding of like what the guests are asking for, and now you can connect with the rest of the party and not just the two people that booked it or hired it or whatever else. I just think that's how that all comes together. It's like it's magic. Like you can get a list of songs that they send you and you don't play any of them because you decide that the room is like in a whole different place sometimes. But that's all right. Matthew, what do you bring to us for this wedding resurrection, old school versus new school thing? Brian gave us a lot of the old. You got some new songs that you just.
I didn't even know we were going down this road. I just figured I got this book. It's songs and artists. We've all heard of Joel Whitburn, right?
No.
The guy that does the Billboard Top 40 books. You ever heard of the Billboard Top 40 books?
Of course. I love the Billboard books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're based in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
So the same guy that wrote all those books. He did these books
that you can't see because you've got the weirdo background on.
Yeah, it's invisible. It's the invisible book. There you go.
Record research.
Okay.
Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
So do you bring it forward, Matthew?
So this is Songs and Artists 2006. So anyway,
nice.
I just thought I'd go whatever, and you guys just tell me to stop, and then whatever page I'm on, and just I'll
stop.
I haven't done it yet. You ready?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That
right page
great.
or left page?
Left.
Is this all wording? Helpful music?
I'm just doing this randomly.
Left. I want you to go down 7 lines.
Whatever I put my finger on, that's what I'm going to mention.
No, 7 lines.
Mick Jagger, Just Another Night.
Good song. Off the is it the Boss album?
1985.
The Boss. Great song.
There you go.
So that's your song. So do we like Mick Jagger? Do we like Rolling Stones?
I love Mick Jagger.
Do we play that at weddings? Because the whole thing
I think Let's Work was on that album too. It's a good album.
It doesn't have anything to do with weddings, I'm sure. But that's just what I was planning on doing for tonight for the record roundup. I'm just going to just open up the book and go boom.
By the way, guys, it's last call. In case anyone's interested, it's last call. I just want to throw that out there.
No worries. Jay, you're up next. Why don't you take us a little further?
Well, I came upon something in the year 2000 because I had a client that came to me and said, "Hey, have you ever heard of this group? I really want them for the ceremony." And on Wikipedia, I just did some counting. They have 315 albums to their credit. I'm going to read the track list from every one of them now.
Ooh, I know what it is. I know what it is.
Oh, I bet you do.
We'll stop you once you know when.
Well, if you're not playing this, and it freaks me out when DJs today in 2024 will tell me, "Yeah, I've never heard of them." Yeah. If you do not know this group and you're doing weddings, you're either doing a complete disservice to your client or you have a great full-time job.
Jay turned me on to this, by the way, like 15 years ago. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So
and maybe calling yourself a DJ is a mistake, and that would be Vitamin String Quartet.
Oh, absolutely.
They have covered every possible genre.
Yep.
Every major movie, every major theme. Like, there is not a song. There's like every client I've ever had. It's like, oh, I can play some Vitamin String. Like, I always play Vitamin String for Prelude. There was a period a couple of years ago where every bride was doing 1,000 Years from Twilight as their procession.
Yeah. That's kind of a thing for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can invest, obviously, if they've got 315 albums out, you can invest thousands to get their entire collection. But I would say get their best of wedding stuff because they have several, like best of rock wedding, best of goth wedding.
Yeah, the gothic wedding album I have.
Yeah. I mean, they do, but they literally, you would be hard pressed to get a client that's into a certain type of music that you couldn't find something from Vitamin Strings. So I think it's an absolute must have. And the second to that would be a group called Piano Guys. They do an even better version.
I thought you were going to pick the cellos.
1,000 Years.
2 cellos. But yeah, Piano Guys are great too.
You know what? I've never been asked to play them, and I know they play some really good rock stuff, but back in like 98, I think there was a group that came out that did all Metallica, and they were called Apocalyptica.
I remember them,
it was cello, like violin and bass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a minute of popularity where you get that, like, oh, can we get Metallica? It's like, yeah. Like the Black Album especially was so big in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Vitamin Strings, like I said, last weekend, I don't know that I've done a wedding where I didn't play something. I've even got clients that want Vitamin Strings for dinner.
I picked up their Led Zeppelin album. That one I found very handy.
Yeah. Because I think clients will let you, they'll defer to you. Yeah. They'll say, oh, I'd love to play, I got Vitamin Strings. Oh, okay. Do you want me to just take care of it? And they go, yeah. And the beauty is, and if you need an explanation, you just say, Yeah, what's cool is your guests hear a song and go, I think that's Led Zeppelin.
Right.
But it's
Or
pretty
Aerosmith
strange.
or Nirvana. The Nirvana
Right.
one. Is
Nirvana
fun.
one's great. The
Well,
Black
that's
Hole
it.
Sun by Soundgarden.
Oh, I don't have that
I play
one.
that. Oh, I play that all the time. And people will come up and be like, dude, this is really cool, but is this Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun? I'm like, yeah.
I do
Dude.
Evanescence and
Awesome.
all kinds
Yeah.
of stuff.
They
It's
they
just-
literally,
yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Slayer, Metallica.
It's
Megadeth.
just great.
They do
Yeah,
everything.
John.
Stuff on strings is great, and you know you can actually kick somebody back off their heels a little bit and kick them down. Like Canon in D has been covered by Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and that's a beautiful
Yes.
cover.
They have a great cover of it.
Yeah, Canon in D, for you guys that don't know, it's kind of a Christmassy feeling song now, but it still works at weddings, and you guys
Reminds
should-
me of Graduation for some reason.
It's
It's got that
very,
pomp
it's very
and
professional.
circumstance vibe.
It's got that whole like step that you have to do with it.
Reminds
Like,
me of where Jay's from originally.
it's like I knew you were trouble when
Yeah.
you walked in. If you ever try to dance to that, if you march to that, you're in a graduation processional march.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's like you had Canon and Aaron and G string. Those were always the big, this is my song and this is the wedding party. And then, no, this time it's going to be, this is the wedding party and this is my song. You know, because normally the wedding march that you're talking about, John, Here Comes the Bride, that's normally only about a minute or two long. It's not a long song.
no.
Because they expect them to walk down an aisle in a church.
Well, here's the thing: is couples got away from the traditional and want to use their own song. I want a different artist. I want somebody young and contemporary to be my march in because I identify as this and I don't identify as composers from back in the day.
I'm stoked when they say we want to do Here Comes the Bride, we want to do Canon and D. I honestly am
That's very traditional.
once a
And it's like-
year.
I'm
They ask
very
me-
interested to hear what Lily has to say.
I'm just waiting for my dream wedding. You know, when they say like, yeah, we would like the wedding procession song from Flash Gordon by Queen. You know,
Nice.
that would be
The original.
That would be a good-
That's going to move things along quickly. Hush.
Well, I think I told you, John, I had a gothy bride probably 12, 15 years ago and was like literally she is in the back of the banquet hall getting ready to walk out onto the rooftop. And she said, hey, do me a favor, surprise me on my march. I'm like, you already picked something. No, surprise me. And I'm like,
no
got
pressure.
lucky.
Yeah.
This was on CDs. I got lucky that I had the CD nearby and I played the beginning of Love You to Death, the piano piece, and she cried
From
from
Typo
Typo
Negative.
Negative.
Typo
Yeah.
Negative. R.I.P. Peter Steele. Wow, that's a deep cut. Thank you, Jay. Let's kick over to Alex. Alex, what do you got for your modernized versions of traditional wedding intros, outros, or the cake?
So, you know, if I'm doing ceremony, which isn't very often, but Jay's already picked up on that, and you mentioned it, the vitamin and the piano guys. I prefer the cello guys, and they do a lot of the two cellos. They do a lot of less rockier stuff. I mean, they do the classic AC/DC, which that video went viral, blah, blah, blah. But that's my 20, 25 minute pre ceremony. So when guests are sitting down, music wise, that's down to it's preferential. So, if they want this song for the bride walking in, the signing of the register, the walking out, that's down to them. But for cake cutting, obviously I live by the sea where I am. So DNCE, Cake by the Ocean.
Cake by the Ocean makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If for the entrance song for the reception, because we have a ceremony at one point, then there's cocktail area, then in a different area we have everybody gets seated, and then we do welcome Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that kind of thing. That's down to them, but I always recommend something upbeat, because the ceremony is normally the more chilled out songs, So it could be like sometimes they do Signed, Sealed, Delivered if they want something, Stevie Wonder, something old school and classic, or I've Got a Feeling, a bit more modern, or I've even had couples do a Miracle by Eddie Goulding is one of the new ones, because they're EDM lovers, so they want something that's that style, and they want to go in with something heavy and loud.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Yeah.
Occasionally, I play a Canon on D, for the bride walking in, for a ceremony, but it's rare. Maybe 1 in 50.
That used to be the traditional song, man, and I think we all just kind of defaulted to that. But there's so much other, we're not going to take it on a deep dive through conductors over the years, and we're not going to test your, Pachelbel or Mozart's and whatever else. But there's so much other beautiful music and stuff that has that uplifting spring feeling. Was that Vivaldi, right? Jay, help me out. Come on,
Vivaldi.
Yeah.
I used to play Seasons when I was on CDs. I'd play Seasons by Vivaldi for Prelude because it was 38 minutes long. It was one big movement of the 4 pieces. And I could play, and I had a 38-minute thing. And then I found Lumineer doing Canon, and their version of Canon in D is 6.5 minutes long. So I didn't have to sweat the bride coming down and making a mistake. Now with a computer, I can just double the tracks. But CD,
if something runs along,
there's a panic like, she's stopping.
The song's going to run out. Yeah.
So you learn at your first mistake, you learn the next wedding, you have 2 CD players and you have 2 copies of the same CD. Because if there's a mistake, you can always switch to the next deck and start the track over seamlessly.
At 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever, used to have these infomercials on TV, and they used to sell these CDs. And one big promotion or one big thing that was going on was a collection called Pure Moods. And it was
I remember that.
It was Sadness and Sail Away and all that crap. And if you act now, you can also get Pure Classic Pure Classics, and that's what my Canon and D was off of, and all of my classics was off of that Pure Classics, and they were pretty good versions, and I still use.
Yeah, you probably got more traction off the bonus disc than you did off anything.
I mean, I didn't order it off a TV. I got it used somewhere, but I'm like, this is pretty cool. It's
back in the day. You just tape a penny to a postcard and drop it in the mailbox, and Columbia House Records would just send you a whole bunch of vinyl.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
KTEL commercials.
We did the Canon and D Air, Here Comes the Bride, the Midsummer Night's Dream, Wedding March. And then all of a sudden, like the O'Neill brothers and Vitamin really switched gears. It was like overnight, it seemed like, wait a second, you're not doing the regular stuff? Yeah. So it's funny now to see that everyone's kind of everywhere around the country and the world has moved away from the Canon and the Here Comes the Bride stuff. Yeah,
it's like, I want to come into something that identifies me. I don't want
that's Wedding Wire and The Knot and all these on-site wedding things that are like, express yourself.
Brainwashing, Jay, you're right.
Be yourself. You should do Phil Collins, Groovy Kind of Love, and you should do...
Because no one's ever done that.
Hall & Oates. I remember getting I bet no one's ever done this. I'm like, what? She's like, Hall & Oates. I'm like, Make My Dreams Come True. She's like, have you done that before?
I did 65 weddings last year, and they all wanted that.
I don't have the heart to even tell them that they're cliche anymore. I'm like, great idea. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, live your dreams. Live your dreams.
That's something I don't got to buy this week.
It's hard. It's like, well, my last one, so they don't know what I played, so it's all top secret. Damon, what do you would like to share for some wedding intellect this night? What do you have for us?
Well, I'm kind of along with Brian. I use a lot of the DJ tools in the early part of my career, DJing weddings and stuff like that. Them and the mobile beat, those are like my hand too.
Yeah.
CD set right there. Then for like cocktail music, I use a lot of CDs called Unwrap. Are you familiar with them?
No.
Do you have tracks that you actually like that you go to that you'd say like, we're in this moment and this is what I want to use for cocktail, or this is knowing these people, this has to drop for dinner. Like, how do you pick your songs?
Oh man. Well, the cool thing like Unwrap was their CDs it was jazz versions of hip hop songs.
Oh, wow.
So it was like you got that young crowd. But you really didn't want to play any rap music at that moment, but you could play the jazz version. So it was like they would recognize the songs. And then older people were, this is kind of cool. So
I need to get a hold of some of this stuff.
The instrumentals?
Yes, they're instrumentals.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I want this.
I mean, yeah, like Candy Shop, The Way We Move by Outkast.
I need this in my life.
With like jazz and sax or whatever, and you're like,
it was just straight up actual jazz bands.
Yeah,
like Charlie Brown jazz.
No, just.
You know what? That's like the thing I got on iTunes. I told you about, Brian. It's called Lounge, and it's like the Charlie Paxton trio doing Prince, Darling Nikki, and it's literally piano, drum,
Yeah.
stand-up bass. They're like legit. There's Coltrane's got a kid and he's got a jazz band and he does Led Zeppelin Cashmere with this female singer. They're not instrumentals like what he's talking about, but they're just straight up hardcore jazz versions of pop songs, and people love it. But I got to get my hands on
Unwrapped.
I'm absolutely with Damon on like.
I'm guessing it's spelled UNRAPPED, no W.
No W.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, it just slips in under the radar, and all of a sudden, like people don't know they're hearing the song that's really familiar. Going like,
Jay's already Googling it. He'll give us the information later.
Yeah, I got to look into this.
We're going to talk after the show, but if you guys want to find out more information about Damon's suggestion tonight, leave a comment in the below box and ask us about stuff. Is it available? Can I get this really cool music that doesn't just sound so dated, and play it out and give us something new that makes it special and make our event a great thing? You guys have been a great panel tonight. Thank you so much for coming to the Record Roundup. Your insights are always welcome. We are going to see you again on the next journey. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight.